Welcome back, everybody. We finally returned here for game number 2. We've been having some slow lobbies getting started here. We're working on getting it all settled, though. And if you're a longtime watcher of the UCL, this is just business as usual. But game number 1, we saw mAAd City clean up Nightstar. Brownman Darius got his Darius, and I have to apologize. I've been saying all series long that game 2 was going to be a return for the bans for Blacklist X. That is not the case. They have lost their bans for the entire series. And so that Darius pick, especially now that we're going to see mAAd City on the blue side, is still a very real possibility.
Yeah, it of course is possibility. However, for the side of Blacklist, they do have last pick, and they should be fully aware that the Darius should come through or could come through here. So it's up to them to prepare a response, since they won't have, of course, the resources to take it away. And I mean, when it comes to all these delays, the biggest win for our audience is they get to see more of us, audio.
That's true. Nightstar. Every day that we get to see the audio star on the desk is a great day. We are going to get into draft here for game number 2, though. You're going to see some throwaway bans here for the side of Blacklist. The champions that are already banned just for competitive play here in the UCL. Viego, Gwen, Ram is on the table too. Last game they banned the Master Yi. But I'm interested to see where mAAd City puts the Darius in the priority here. I would expect them to pick it up, but they don't have to worry about it getting taken away, so they don't have to first pick it. And like you said, Blacklist have that counter, so you can hold it as long as you can. See if Blacklist maybe blind into you. I love this mAAd City. They grab the Morgana here for themselves. I really hope that's a Morg jungle.
Yeah, I would assume it's going to be Morg jungle here. Of course, the premier jungle at the moment in solo queue has been absolutely on a tear. 55% win rate last time I checked, which was like just 2 days ago. I can't imagine the win rate dropping or plummeting that fast. So Morgana picked up, of course, just offers so much flexibility and gives you the option to play AD mids, play AD tops, and also when it comes to pairing with the Darius in particular, it means that Darius just cannot be stopped when he wades into a fight.
And especially if we see from last game, if mAAd City puts a lot of attention towards that top side, Morgana may not be the best skirmisher, but she's incredibly powerful as a counter ganker. And we saw so many times on the Heck Room, he would just sit right behind Darius, just sit there, just kind of watch him, be like, "You doing all right, buddy? You farming? Are you too hot? Do you need some hand sanitizer, some snacks?
Need a fan?"
He just is waiting on his beck and call, making sure that he's having a good time. Morgana can do that very effectively. She can also be there a lot faster than even the Heck Room. I think at its fastest, Morgana has the full clear at like 257. I don't remember the exact number, but that's a rough estimate. Definitely faster than pretty much every other jungler on this patch.
The clear speed on this champ is really, really nuts. 15 seconds before Scuttle spawns, it means that you just have so much free time to just think about what your next move is, whether it's, all right, I'm going to invade and get some wards down, or I have 15 seconds, invest into a gank, and then I can still hit that Skull Crab timing with more than enough time. But for mAAd City and Blacklist, in this first phase, we have Heck Room Vayne coming out from Blacklist. We'll see how they round out that first phase, but seeing the Vayne come out, my initial thoughts is just that this Vayne is going top lane. But for mAAd City, apparently they don't think so, because they've picked up the Draven pick as an instant response along with the Orianna.
Yeah, I mean, the Vayne could be another attempt at trying to preemptively shut down that Darius, giving themselves the option to flex. But I like mAAd City's response, because the last time they counterpicked into the Darius, he said, okay, he won the lane anyway. And if that happens, then I mean you're in a lose-lose situation. You send the Vayne top and risk her just losing because Brown Mandarius is that good, or do you send her bot now into a Draven lane, which is going to be terrible? So Mad City, I think it was a very intelligent pick. We'll see what the second round bans hold here for them as they take the Rel off the table. That was, one of the best parts of the engage from Blacklist. In game number 1, despite them not winning the fights, I think the Magna Storms were always very helpful.
Yeah, it was the most consistent point of their composition. Being able to hit Rel ultimates, being able to get really multi-man engages there was really good coming in for Blacklist, and that
Not enough Black Shields for that.
Yeah, it kept things interesting when it came to the start of these fights. Unfortunately, we could see the results very, very quickly of these fights just from after that initial engage. But the Xerath pick is really interesting because I would say it plays very well into the Orianna because you outrange Orianna, but also you can throw it down into that bottom lane if it ends up being Morgana support. And Xerath just obliterates Morgana support because Black Shield doesn't have an impact in that lane. Yes, if you hit a bind onto Xerath, then he runs into a lot of issues, but if you aren't able to hit binds, Xerath of course can also play outside of that range, and he's just a really, really strong support when it comes to some of these enchanter supports on the side or available in that bottom lane. But Karma to come out here, yet another option to throw at that Darius, by the way.
Blacklist, since they can't ban away the Darius, they're just going to say, fine, the least we can do is make sure that you don't know who you're playing against. Is the Vayne or the Karma could technically flex up there to that top lane. We could also see, Xerath has a bit of flexibility, not to top, but to mid support. Karma can go in that mid lane as well. The Nautilus grabbed for the Draven, so that will 1000%, as we expected, to be the Morgana in the jungle. And that becomes a scary lane just on its own with the Nautilus. Never even mind the extra CC from the Morgana coming in, but a Draven Nautilus, if you do land a hook onto a Vayne or a Xerath, it's lights out.
Yeah, and because of how much threat the Darius pick has in the draft, they just go ahead, lock into Gangplank, because Gangplank, yes, not going to have a great time into Vayne, but it does mean that you would have to sort of pivot your composition from the side of Blacklist, and the Karma pick does do well into that. However, it does look like in the end it will be that Vayne heading into that top lane. So exciting stuff here. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. The Vayne into Gangplank feels like much less of a great matchup to be. Sir, you still have a technical ranged into melee, but Vayne very short range, and Gangplank has that super low cooldown parlay that you're going to have to deal with. I don't know if Vayne is going to be able to survive the poke in the early levels. You do build sustain in her kit rather early on, but you got to get the gold for that first. A Doran's Blade is not a bloodthirster. It's not going to keep you topped off throughout the entire phase.
Yeah, but that said, yeah, true. Also gives you vitamin C. Make sure you stay healthy.
It's just a vitamin diff, honestly. Yeah. Gangplank straight up healthier, which is surprising to say as like the pirate captain, stereotypically just never showers. Oranges is like their only supplement to say that he's the healthier one. But hey, we know that he took that couple-year hiatus from Bilgewater. He was down there mulling around. Maybe he got his life together. Maybe he's been working on his self-care.
Yeah, just
right.
Yeah, and on the flip side, Vayne, Night Hunter, perhaps too many vampires. Yeah, a little bit too addicted to garlic.
DoorDash orders.
Late night,
not much open at that time of night, so you're heading to the convenience store, grabbing the Twinkies, grabbing a big gulp.
I mean, nighttime, it's just so...
Packing on the calories.
Exactly. The tumble just makes so much more sense now, because you're just putting on the weight, you trip, and then what do? You tumble.
in before Riot turns League of Legends into a survival game. You got to start balancing your hunger, your weights, all that fun stuff. Enough tomfoolery, though. We've gotten into at least the client part of the draft here. So I want to talk a bit more cohesively about these team fights. We've analyzed some of the more specific matchups, but Nightstar, tell me about how these teams want to approach the game. More importantly, what are their win conditions?
Yeah, this is definitely very interesting when it comes to trying to break down some of these win conditions because of how many niche picks there are. Yes, mAAd City, they've gotten more of, again, a meta composition, what you're going to see on this patch, because you have the Morgana, the Gangplank, of course, still a very powerful top laner when it comes to these counter matchups. Orianna, very meta. The Draven, a lot less meta, but it still makes sense here when you give draft context. And then pairing up with the Nautilus, you want to go aggressive, that also makes sense. And on the flip side, still, you know, some meta picks it with the Hecarim, Karma, Ezreal, and this bottom lane is going to be very solid. But then you throw in some of these curveballs with the Xerath, with the Vayne, and these solo laners, I would say, really dictate how this game is going to go. If the Xerath's able to get ahead, then when it comes to sieging or playing around these objectives, that becomes that much more difficult for mAAd City, because again, you can put Black Shield to a target, but that Black Shield isn't going to last long at all. And then if this Vayne gets ahead, she's going to be dancing around the fights. And if you look on the side of mAAd City, they don't necessarily have a point and click CC.
Well, they have one. They've got the Nautilus there that can at least start that train off on one target. You know, you will have to pick and choose which that is, but that's a pretty easy quiz. It's Vayne, always. It's the right answer. I'm going to fill that one in for every single one down the list. Team fight 1, ult the Vayne. Team fight 2, ult the Vayne. Team fight 3, you guessed it, chat. You're so smart. Ult the Vayne. I do feel like the barrier of execution here is rather high for the side of Blacklist. This Vayne is going to be very isolated up here in the top lane. There is a reason that this is such a niche pick. Yes, it does have a couple of great matchups, but Vayne is the lowest range of the marksmen, and the top lane is the longest of the lanes. So you really run the risk of just getting frozen against Brownman Darius. We saw him last game, even in the melee ranged matchups. He was controlling the waves very well. Never felt like he had an issue crashing or freezing. So that's where all my eyes are in this game, because if that Vayne starts to fall behind, the rest of the composition really feels lackluster. It feels like a lot of sitting back and poking, and if that engage comes through, what's backing it up? It's, you know, just the poke at that point.
Yeah, that being said, there is a lot of poke coming in from Blacklist. You've got the Xerath, you've got the Karma, you got the Ezreal. There's a lot of stuff flying at you here, and
but you also have to hit it. That's the thing about I'll right before you launch to that point, the poke compositions, like everything that I feel like they want to do here is just a bit tougher than what mAAd City wants to do.
Yeah, however, at the same time, when you look at where your primary engage is going to come from mAAd City, it's just clearly all on this Nautilus. So if Nautilus takes too much poke damage early on, that could be a big issue when it comes to just starting out these fights. So for Blacklist, if they just hit, 3 poke spells onto this Nautilus, maybe all of a sudden you're looking at a half health support, because remember, this is still a support Nautilus. He doesn't have that much resistances, have tools to nullify poke damage, and that could allow Blacklist an in when it comes to trying to secure a couple of these dragons. But I think Dragon Soul is going to make a big difference as far as which way the game ends up swinging, just because of, I don't think these comps are particularly interested in just snagging super early dragons.
Yeah, I love the way you phrase it there, Nightstar. Depends on which way it ends up swinging. It's a philosophy here that we have at the UCL that you don't really get to see at the top levels of play. If you look at this draft in like the Proving Grounds or the LCS or Academy, and you see that this Vayne was picked up as an answer to the Darius, and then it ends up being a Vayne into Gangplank, you're like, all right, go next. It's a loss in draft. Like, we're just done for. But here in the UCL, that Vayne could pop off. We don't know. Or she could completely lose lane and then 35 minutes in get a quadra kill. So many things go back and forth that we have to really consider the strength of these compositions at every single point, because we have absolutely no clue when and where they're going to get ahead. It's all excitement here in game number 2. mAAd City looking to close this one out and protect their undefeated streak. Blacklist X, they just want to keep this one going. We'll toss it to a short break as we wait for them to get on to Summoner's Rift, and we'll see you there. Welcome to Summoner's Rift, ladies and gentlemen, for game number 2 between mAAd City and Blacklist X. mAAd City, if you're just joining us, we're able to clean up game number 1 through Brown Man Darius's signature pick on the big old Axeman himself. but did not for it here in game 2. Saw that Vayne coming through. They were able to dodge that bullet. So we will be seeing them fight to keep their undefeated streak alive, while unfortunately that is no longer an option for their opponents because they lost game 1, but they can still preserve their series score, Nightstar.
Yeah, they definitely can. For the side of Blacklist, they're definitely not out of it. And of course, all attention really comes onto this top side. How will this Vayne do? Because she has gone for the Ghost Flash spell options, which means you're really just looking for to win lane, win gameplay style. This is what we saw coming in from Darius. And now it comes down to, well, how accustomed to zero teleport or no teleport top laners are they to be able to comfortably play around this pick?
And already the Vayne is off to an aggressive start, as we kind of expected. Once the levels start coming through, it gets a little bit easier for Brownman Darius. Good hook from mAAd down there in the bot side. Big health trades coming out from the Draven.
Yeah, really nice trade there, hitting level 2 and immediately going in. This is, of course, what this duo does need to do, because if things play out slowly, then it's going to be problematic. But actually find a beautiful barrel combination there for gameplay. Does mean that health bars kind of teetering there in that top side.
There. I also want to mention that the Vayne started with a cull this game, so yeah, we're not going to be seeing a heal. We're not going to be seeing, really any sort of regen or sustain now that that one potion is out of inventory. These parlays are going to stick, while BMD, he's got the corrupting pots, he's got the biscuits, and they're going to just barely save his life there combined with the oranges.
Yeah, but now Brownman Darius, he could just go for a flash too. Flash parlay.
There it is.
Yep.
I mean, if you're Vayne there, you have to respect flash. You have to ghost at the very least, ghost, so that can't come through. That's kind of exactly what we were talking about, Nightstar, and our worst fears have been realized.
Yeah, and the big issue there is the fact that you die, and you've also now given up a lot of room, right? Because you don't have the teleport to get back into the lane. Now the lane gets to be frozen here, and they just need to find a play here in the mid lane.
Looking for Teemo. Hecarim's around.
Hecarim goes
flash forward from the Morgana, but now there's no flash to get away from this play. Black Shield's on cooldown. Shell
double kill.
Damage. He's looking for the double. There gets the tag, and it's 2 for the Grand Champion jungle.
Yeah, and that's actually massive here. Shelf giving a refresh on his double buffs here, getting 2 kills under his belt. He's going to be really the big frontline champion for the squad here, as they don't really have a whole lot of frontline. They have a lot of range, they have a lot of maneuverability, but they don't have someone to really stand in front of all of them. And yet another engage coming in, and yet another good trade for this bottom lane.
And the action just don't stop. Castle comes in for the counter gank, but narrowly misses that binding, so will not be able to find anything. And just trying to look for poke, trying to allow BMD to push up once again. And I will say that it's very nice for Shelf that he is getting all these kills, because all that mobility you talked about, with Vayne not doing so great, they really needed a player to actually utilize all this, the poke, the karma coming through. Somebody has to be able to capitalize when Ezreal and Xerath actually hit their skill shots. Somebody needs to be able to go in and finish off those members.
And I mean, the Hecarim getting ahead does mean that if skill shots do start landing from this composition from Blacklist, they do have the all-in power to be able to then pull the trigger and try and finish off these kills and snowball the fight that way. Whereas if Shelf Elf doesn't get ahead, then you're looking at, well, yes, we do get a lot of damage down, but can we finish, or can we actually commit to the fight? Because on the flip side, you know, they could just walk away with just the use of a Gangplank ultimate to disengage. It's just too easy at that point. But now, like, this top lane is not even, it's not even fun.
Yeah, at this point, if you're the Vayne and you're not walking forward aggressively with intent to kill, you're feeling horrible because those Sheen parlays, now you can see the Vamp Scepter coming through in inventory for the Vayne, but at this point, it's almost too late. Even the lifesteal from the Vamp Scepter is not going to be enough to deal with super low cooldown parlay being buffed up by that Sheen.
Yeah. That's going to be a big red flag up into that top side. And also just a big red flag is the fact that, well, BMD, he's got a big EXP advantage. Already level 6, halfway to level 7. And if you look on the flip side, Vayne just about to hit level 6. So a half level lead. Yeah, having the extra sustain is going to help, of course.
Yeah. And the reason for this massive XP advantage is, you know, the CS is rather close, is the fact that BMD has had this beautiful freeze going
that's a flash.
all lane long. Yep. Hold that thought. Ashel in a little bit of trouble, but Exhaust comes through.
Teleports from through.
Draven can't pop off. The Nautilus is going to be the prize there instead. Steve Fox has to flash away. It's a 1-for-0, despite the Gangplank ultimate even coming through. Good job from Blacklist X to find something for themselves.
Yeah, able to get that. However, it does look like Orianna still posturing down
now.
Bot
Draven,
side.
he wants the shutdown and he gets it. Doesn't matter where he goes from here. He got his cash in. Can he get any more? He flashes away.
Orianna's here now.
Out of mana, but he doesn't need axes to get kills. Mark Boots will make sure that one gets secured just in case. And a clap back here from Mad City. We were just starting to applaud Blacklist. And it looked like they were in for another good play, Nightstar. It looked like it was Mad City overextending, but the power of that the Draven, rather.
Yeah, Draven in lane. And Dre being able to get a cash. The cash in was actually 373 gold. So that is worth 2 kills in one. So that's why all of a sudden, if you look at the gold differential, Draven's got a 700 gold lead now. And now we have a Nautilus up top side.
This is the worst part of the lane for Vayne, when the rest of your team is losing, and like this matchup or this laning phase for Vayne top is hard enough, but when you're losing it and the support is roaming into your lane. We'll take a look at mid though. Great Shockwave is going to pull in 2. Black Shield is just barely going to keep Mark Boots alive. Now Shelf Elf has come to relieve some pressure topside. Brown Mandarius, the oranges were perfect. As was that binding. Teemo takes some CC, but there's no follow-up damage. Surprisingly, in this entire exchange, unless these ultimates can find something, nobody dies, Nightstar.
No one is close.
I feel cheated.
Actually dying, but
okay. I feel a little bit better now. That one was unnecessary.
Well, the extra BM there is what I'm gonna say, you know? Just saying, hey, you could have killed me, but I died to tower. That's right.
It's the ARAM strat. Taking the NA-Rams to another level, or even getting the mid lane executes.
Yeah, exactly.
Faster reset for me.
And I mean, now you're looking at what, 500 gold lead, so a very slim gold lead, but still gold lead nonetheless, especially when you have to consider how far behind this Vayne has fallen, and how and the fact that Draven was able to get that initial kill to cash in, for them to be 600 gold ahead is a big testament to how well the rest of the map is doing.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at that Vayne and on paper, you think, oh, only, 6 CS down, and, only, 600 gold. It's bad, but it's not impossible for most top laners, yes, but this Vayne top, like, we have to reiterate again how much gold Vayne needs and how vulnerable she is up here. She doesn't have a support to make sure that she can pick up waves like this under tower. This mid game, I think, is where all of these laning mistakes are really going to start to compound and build up, because this Vayne is going to miss out on so much CS in the next 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, thankfully, the Xerath is just monstrous, right? 4,600 gold on himself. He is just by far and away the strongest member on the map right now, and having that range advantage is going to help him considerably once he completes that first mythic, which should be very soon. It's just such a, again, a powerful, very, very powerful siege composition. If you're able to hit that Ezreal ultimate, then that Xerath would have packed a big punch.
Digital Stain throws up the ult to try to clear the wave, but I mean,
Too
just
easy.
can't survive. It's a squishy ADC, and the dive was flawless there.
Yeah, just really easily executed there. Really nice trigger being pulled by Shelf Elf there, knowing that, hey, as long as I pop Ghost, we have more than enough damage with all our tools here. I also have a Karma to make sure I stay alive, and I don't need the extra defensive stats coming in from the Chem Tank to actually pull this dive off. And they're able to do it and get themselves a second dragon, which of course is also great for them because they want to force the side of Mad City into these positions where they have to contest, and that allows the extra sieging potential to come through
And
distract from the Vayne.
Situation from game number 1, where top lane was getting smashed due to the laning prowess of BMD, but even bottom lane was losing from those early ganks from Castle. This time, it is the winning bottom lane for Blacklist X. Shelf Elf has really been able to set himself up a kind of bastion of safety in the bottom half. Teemo as well. Like, I'm not forgetting about you, Teemo. The Xerath is obviously like the huge focal point of this game right now, but I just want to highlight how important it is to not have 2 losing lanes, how much easier it is to play the game for Blacklist when they actually have some room to work with, because this Xerath needs room, a lot of room, as a poke mage to really stretch his zone of influence, get vision control, find isolated members to get picks. Even a 3-in-1 Xerath with 2 other losing lanes feels very confined.
Yeah, and look at where the Morgana is once again. She's just trailing this bot side, looking to lane gank. We talked about lane ganks coming in from Morgana, and this is going to be yet another one.
And Hecarim is here. Teemo is roaming
Hold the
down.
turn.
There's the ultimate already. The fear coming through to lock them up. Castle did not have the life shield in time. A great hook is going to keep turret aggro on Shelf Elf, so they'll trade 1 for 1, but it's ADC for jungler. And now Teemo is down here. He brings out the teleport from Orianna to protect this mid wave. Huge chunks of damage, though. There's that poke coming through. Morgana lands a binding. Castle's going to grab a kill for themselves.
Yeah, they get the kill, but they definitely don't win out on the trade, though, because that tower should still fall in that bottom side. They don't have the health bars really to hold on to it, and of course the siege from these 2 members in particular, the Ezreal and the Xerath, like, one of those skill shots land and Orianna just has to leave. She has no choice but to leave.
Wave thinning out here. They will secure the tower. Second tower of the game. First here for Blacklist. And good attempt there to hold on to it. But like you said, it falls in the end regardless. And all the effort thrown towards, trying to protect it feels like it could have been better utilized. Could have pushed in mid, could have gotten plates. No plays on the other side of the map means that ends up being pure profit for Blacklist.
Yeah, absolutely pure profit here. And now both of these bot laners rotating over to the mid lane and moving now those mid laners into the side lane. So of course both of these champs, nice little catch there.
Save lives, but they can take them too. Ashel gets caught clearing one out, and ultimate onto
Oh, here comes the cavalry.
Stain has no flash. He went in to get that kill, has no way out, and here's the collapse from the rest of Blacklist. A double kill for Steve Fox. You get a cash in, but at what cost, Nightstar? What did it cost you?
Yeah, I mean, the cash in wasn't even that much.
Nightstar, it's everything is the answer. Stay with me.
The cash in wasn't even that much, Audio. He cashed in, I believe, a full 89 gold. Like, yes, you get the kill gold of 300, but the bonus gold.
The crowd cheered for him, Nightstar.
Oh,
rush! It's the cheer track that makes it all worth it. Draven.
Siege. Oh my god, that Siege. Yeah. So this comp really, like, at this point in the game, no one really cares about Vayne. She plays absolutely, like, barely any role. It's all about can the Xerath and the Ezreal hit their skill shots, and if so, then really the Vayne gets to play the game. Otherwise, she's just kind of hanging around the side, and you know, it's not about her. She's not the protagonist, Audio. Don't tell me that.
Character. She's an NPC for sure. And we're running into the problem that you highlighted here in the draft. And from behind, where are the engage options? You've got Nautilus running in, but if he starts to take that poke, already 0-3, very far behind the curve, very squishy too. And there's the poke from Xerath already. Castle, quarter HP, loses the black shield. Importantly, it's going to be on cooldown for the rest of this fight. Dragon, though, is going to be secured by the gangplank of all people. And an mAAd is going to go down. Shockwave's going to come through, but only land onto one. Castle is golden and tethering up multiple, but it doesn't matter. Teemo is untouched. He's so far away, miles out of sight, but he's finding kills nonetheless. Sniped from downtown. And it might have been the Dragon going over to Mad City Premier, but the gold and the kills will fall to Blacklist X. Shelf Elf, he's greedy for more even. He'll just poke his head out to say hello.
Yeah, and now we're starting to see, like, from ahead, Blacklist is just so oppressive. And I mean, either of these teams, when they are ahead, it does get very, very frustrating to play against, because if the Nautilus gets ahead, he just runs at you with impunity. But right now, when you exchange front lines like how it happened in that last fight, where, okay, Nautilus goes in, and then Shelf Elf goes in as well on the flip side, both of these comps running one tank or one hard engaged champion apiece, and you just see there's a clear item difference when it comes to a support and a jungler that's 4, 2, and 8.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't even going to be the full tank from an mAAd. He went for the Moby boots to have that extra bit of mobility. He's squishy, and he's going to be squishy for quite a long time here. And you even got to factor in the fact of his rune choice. I mean, Aftershock only procs after you hit CC. That's not helping him approaching these fights. When he's entering these pits, he is just as squishy as his ADC. You can see that right here. Still hasn't procced it. Does mix the dredge line. And finally he gets that boost, but he's already like 100 HP. Easy pickings for Shelf Elf there. And he'll go down before the Baron even spawns. Now a 5v4 for Mad City.
And look at this poke. This poke is nuts.
5v, okay, they keep hold on everybody. 5v3, but they get one in return. Shut down, big one going over to Mark Boots. That was a crucial mistake for Blacklist.
Yeah, it will still cost them their tower though. So for the side of Blacklist, they still win out on that trade. But when you do lose that jungler, of course, it does prevent you from just trying to pull the trigger on a 20-minute Baron and just trying to force around that.
mAAd just spawned, and he's 300 HP going back to base.
I'm here, and I'm going home.
Dusty. And I mean, we've got an Immortal Shield Bow for Gangplank. Draven decided to go for the Essence Reaver first, just has that Vamp Scepter in inventory. Those two items, and I mean, you could call the Vamp Scepter an item with air quotes. It's a component, a little bit of lifesteal. It's the only sustain. So any of this damage that does land sticks, and it sticks hard.
Yeah, and now when you're looking at how this Gangplank gets to play the game, it almost feels like he's exclusively on split push duty, because the Immortal Shield Bow not going to give you that creative stats when it comes to fighting out these just full-blown team fights. It's just a lot better when you're stuck in these 1v1 scenarios, and especially when you have, of course, the Essence Reaver. You just want to try and fight 1v1, utilize that crit to its utmost potential. And of course, once you hit a couple more crit items, then you can maybe go for that lucky barrel crit for a full team fight. But at this point in the game, you're just looking for this fate. That's all you're looking for.
Looking for more gold. Vayne has been able to minimize the losses from the early laning phase after losing tower. Sitting 30 CS down, which doesn't feel great, but don't forget, started with that call, so it's a bit of an extra gold bump in inventory. And considering how poorly the laning phase went, she's 1,500 gold down, but I'm pretty okay with the last couple of minutes of you know, how she's been able to just sit in lane, collect CS, at least try to get that back under control.
Yeah, and she's also gone for the rapid fire cannon. So adding an extra range here is really, really nice. And
wow.
I mean,
they don't even need Teemo's ult there. Steve Fox gets a solo kill. And here's the engage from Shelfelf.
That's it.
There's no black field left. Nautilus is gone. And so are the rest of the team. Brown Mandarius, he's going to try to trade some back. Mystic shot lands, though. Heat-seeking missiles coming out from Steve Fox. It's going to be the team nearly wiped. Mark Boots, did he respawn at the end of that, or was he just not in that fight? Still, though, very nearly an ace. And as long as the jungler doesn't go down to the Baron, okay, shields from Karma are there. Shelfelf, you're worrying me here, buddy. But I don't need to be worried. It's calculated down to the last hit point. It'll be Baron for Blacklist X.
And Blacklist, they are looking to run away with this game number 2. And we saw how dominant game 1 was coming in from the side of mAAd City Premier, but now it's just on the complete opposite foot. So this is actually making for a very exciting series just to break down if the side of Blacklist take it to game 3, because of how one-sided both these games have been with very different compositional identities. I just cannot wait for when we get into that draft.
Yeah.
Woo! Try and dodge that.
Single one connects. All 3 arcane pulses, the arcane barrage on top of it. That feels horrible for Mark Boots. As now Shelfelf is under the turret with Browman Darius, and he's gone too. Health bars popping like balloons here. It's Teemo's birthday. Steve Fox is too. They're twins here in this game. Hell, throw Shelfelf in. They're triplets on Summoner's Rift, and it's time to celebrate. We're all one big happy family here in game number 2.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just been all about the Xerath and the Ezreal. They just cannot walk up to these 2 champions because of the poke. Oh my god. Make it stop. Make it stop.
Exist inside of their base. Now the Vayne is going to be going forward, still not doing much damage at all. Kind of laughable, honestly, but hey, 2, 1, and 5. So we're closing out the game with a positive KDA.
Yeah.
That's all that you can ask after that early game. It's the Baroned up minions walking in, and just, my god. Nightstar, they can't go anywhere. They're just not even able to approach the wave. This is absolutely ridiculous. Hecker Moltzman into the back line was a little troll. Shelfelf is going to go down, and maybe now there's a small window for a re-engage for the side of mAAd City. Nope. No,
Nope.
Steve Fox is going to slam it right on their fingers. Brownman Darius dodging out, ducking, weaving, bobbing, trying, hoping, praying. And he does find one kill with the barrel. Those health bars are awfully low. He maybe find just one more. I think the push is going to be repelled for now. The carries will fall back to base, and Mad City Premier licking their wounds, but they will get to stay on Summoner's Rift for a few minutes longer.
I don't know if it's licking their wounds, man. Their base is in absolute shambles. This is just absolute domination coming in from the side of Blacklist, and you can see that game 1 loss didn't affect them too much here. Is in game number 2, they find the answers in draft. I love the Xerath pick. I love the Ezreal pick, even though Ezreal Karma definitely a very coin flippy lane when you play it into something like a Draven Nautilus who have the all-in pressure onto you. But it was very well executed, especially from Shelf being there at the right times. And now they're in prime position to perhaps get that Baron and then end the game from there.
Yeah, this feels like a team much more comfortably synced up with their jungler. In game number 1, we praised Shelf for having his good performance despite his team falling behind and eventually losing the game. But this time around, again, he feels like the kingpin, but now the rest of his team is reaping those benefits as well. He's been able to accelerate mid and bottom lane at a ridiculous pace.
Yeah, now they're just gonna walk in the minions up top side. Just make sure they collect the rest of those towers up there. And of course, with the extra super minions streaming in from both mid and bot, by the time they hit that inhib tower top side, they should have more than enough super minions pulling attention away and allowing them to just get that free inhib. So for the side of Mad City, this is the last chance saloon here. They have to find and engage, and it has to be on this Nautilus.
They've gotten some crucial item upgrades. Locket for the Nautilus. We see shield bow for Draven, IE for the Gangplank. Woo! But Castle's gone. It is one shot from Shelf, and here comes the rest. Ultimate into the back line, 1 Arcane Pulse, 2 Arcane Pulse, red Arcane Pulse, blue Arcane Pulse. And Mad City Premier are gonna get read a nursery rhyme as they fall asleep here.
Wait, Gangplank.
Shockwave just fans 1, but it is the Ezreal. It's an important one. Not able to find the kill though, and Teemo is still alive.
They're all low.
On the rift. They're all low, but Brownman Darius is stuck inside his base. They can't leave. They can't enter. They can't do anything. I have never seen a more frustrated team in all my days as a caster.
Wait, they're not interested in ending though. Wait a second.
They want to pad their stats. Come on, guys.
This might be a mistake. Might be a mistake.
He's gonna go down. The Darius ultimate is able to catch him on the backswing. Can the minions do it? They're there. They're looking for it. Teemo's trying to poke them out, stop them from wave clearing. This is the game 3 that they're looking for. Oh, the flash forward from Castle doesn't hit the binding though. And mAAd does hit the hook, and Teemo should go down.
They
tried padding the stats, but all they did was pad the game timer a little bit more.
Oh dear. All right. Well, while the game still feels done,
does that matter?
While it feels done, here's the thing. So the side of Blacklist, they'll be able to at least secure Mountain Soul, which is of course a big buff. But on the flip side, you do leave the Baron available, so they're actually going to be able to secure that. And with the Baron minions, they might be able to stave off those super minions. It's still very difficult, of course, because I mean, honestly, if Shelf just pops Ghost and runs into at the Nexus, it probably kills it. But wow, you know, it leaves it open.
Yeah, Shelf looking for the steal. Now though, they have the priority.
Oh, they're teleporting. They're teleporting.
They caught out Digital Stain and Castle in the jungle. It doesn't matter that Vayne dies. She stops the back. Oh, nobody's in the base though.
Wait. Inhibs are respawned.
They're still
Wait a
winning the
second.
fight. There are still really long death timers. Digital staying out for 35 more seconds. And Brown Mandarius was very near to joining him. So it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade. ADC for... or rather, they took down the Vayne too. So 1 for 2, actually. And Nightstar... Here, I'll ask you this question. I think this will be an appropriate one because we're still obviously in a place where this is Blacklist game. How many more mistakes is it going to take until we consider Mad City Premier to have a shot at taking this one into their own hands?
Yeah, so the thing is, it's still a very tall hill to climb, right? Because you're still 7,000 gold behind. You need probably an Elder, but even if you get Elder, which is coming up in what, 4.5 minutes, it's still a long time to try and stall out, to wait for that big coin flip fight to really swing things back in your favor. And even then, I feel like there's so many structures left. The death timers aren't long enough that you need to win a second Elder fight to then be able to close out the game. So it's going to take, we're looking at least another like 10 minutes for them to truly be able to win the game.
And that's not an easy task. They have barely, this is the first time in probably the last 5 minutes that they've been able to walk into their jungle with down some wards. You can see this. I mean, if we can get a vision toggle just to see between blue and red, the vision of the river and the pit, and just that bottom quadrant, it's disgusting how little information Mad City has to work with here in these fights. And honestly, I don't think we need an Elder Dragon. You know, there's still Mountain Soul here. We have to kind of truthfully these Baron minions, but this is still a, you know, doing quick math in my head, 7,000 gold in the lead for Blacklist and a Shockwave that is now on cooldown.
Yeah, they tried to catch out the Vayne and didn't find it. And now
need to pull. Castle goes golden immediately, but he's not going to hit anybody with his ultimate. Self Elf, though, is a different story. It's 2 in the back line. Big Draven damage, and now they have to back off. It was the engage and the poke absorbed.
Oh, can Draven do it, though?
And now they want a re-engage. Digital Stain stepping forward aggressively. Low health bars on the side of Blacklist, but they still have a Mountain Soul, and Teemo is still healthy. That's the important thing to watch on.
They still have him there.
If alive, the team fight can be won, and he already finds his first. Digital Stain is looking for one in return, but the Draven just melts to the Xerath. Brown Mandarius tries to go in for a trade, but it's not enough. The team's got his back, and we're going to a game 3, Nightstar.
No, neither of these teams get to escape this game unscathed. And at the very end, we get the ultimate display of what that composition just did. It's hit skill shots and do a whole lot of magic damage poke. And they just didn't have any sort of magic resistance on the side of Mad City to be able to sustain through that poke or even deal with or mitigate that poke. And it was very similar to game 1. Game 1 was all about the Jinx. Is Jinx alive? If so, then this team fight is looking awfully bad for Blacklist. And this time it was the opposite. Is Xerath alive? If so, well, you might as well just go home, Mad City.
Yeah, you hit it on the head there. They just hit skill shots. I was honestly flabbergasted towards the mid to late stages of the game there, where how Teemo and Steve Fox were able to consistently pick out members and land every single shot from downtown with the Arcane Barrage and the Arcane Pulse syncing up perfectly for probably 3 or 4 different isolated kills right before objectives, which is really what broke the game open the entire time. I don't think Mad City got to take a 5v5 on even footing this entire game, except that one fight that they actually won there at the end, defending their base. So round of applause there for the Xerath, for the Ezreal. They were risky picks, but God, did they pay off. They played them so exceptionally well. I wouldn't be surprised to see them join the ban table here in game number 3, as Mad City does have their bans this series. But we'll have to see how that shakes out. We're going to toss it to a short break. We'll save the rest of our analysis for the pre-game, and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome back, everybody. We have returned here for game number 3 between Mad City Premier and Blacklist X. What a series we've got in front of ourselves, Nightstar. 2 undefeated teams coming in and taking it to game 3. Somebody leaked the script. The script's still good, right?
Well, regardless, I believe both teams took a look at the script and shredded it up because both of these teams have taken a win off of each other now, and it all comes down to this final game. It's pretty much a best of 1 at this point, and I mean, what a better you cannot ask for a better ending because of the fact that, well, both of these teams did come in just absolutely pristine when it came to their map records.
Yeah. And we're going to get into draft here in just a moment, and we'll talk about everything we want and don't want to see. But now that we're into game 3, I want to briefly touch on playoff implications for those other than the diehard UCL fans that already know. But the UCL is a very short regular season, only 5 weeks long. We're 4 weeks in now. So next week is the last chance to pick up those regular season wins. Both these teams right now at 3. Putting themselves at 4 will lock them playoffs. It's top 2 in each group that get out. Now, obviously, this win today would go a long way towards securing you that first place. It is game score at the end of the day, so a 2-0 would have locked first place. But there is an opportunity for the losing team here today to still edge out their opponent if they walk away with a better game score next week. But both these teams should make it in. We expect them to. Whoever wins this game 3 will be locked for playoffs, and the other team will just have to lock it in next week instead.
Yeah, and I mean, it really just comes down to seeding, right? Because it is actually 4 teams from each group that do move forward. So it's very unlikely for them to fall all the way down and get knocked out. I think I said
2, didn't I? That would have been much more difficult.
Yeah. I mean, then you're looking at, well, we really would like to win this week,
right?
But you have the fallback plan. You're mostly just playing for seeding at this point, at 3-0, and especially with the game scores. So a lot of leeway for them, and now it just comes down to, well, can we secure first seed rather than, per se a 3rd seed?
Now, we are in a draft now for game number 3, and we're going to see, once again, a swapping of the sides. Interestingly, though, it seems as if Mad City, or rather Blacklist, have regained their bans, because they did take the Darius, the Jinx, and the Hecarim off the table. Honestly, Nightstar, this changes quite a lot. The fact that the Darius is no longer even a factor in this game almost makes me, edge out Blacklist just because of that recent performance and how good they looked despite the top lane going for them.
Yeah, so this is really just going to make a large difference as far as how you come into draft for Blacklist, because it allows you to go for this Diana pick knowing that Hecarim is gone. He's not going to be running around in the jungle, just really putting a damper on your playstyle, and also, of course, the Morgana being taken away here. So it's going to be Diana taking on the Volibear when it comes to the jungle matchup. At least it should. Still has potential to go top side, but I don't really expect that. And then initially, when I see this Tristana, I'm thinking, well, you've got an AP jungler. Definitely could be a Tristana mid here.
Yeah. I mean, the Rakan and the Tristana go well enough together. It's a similar vein to the Rel Kaisa that we saw from game 1 that was paired with the Diana. I was actually, with you bringing up the solo lane Tristana, I was going to bring up the option of locking it in and then maybe picking up the Xayah later, but they're just going to grab the Lovers duo for themselves right here, grabbing a not only very safe bottom lane, but very powerful one too in the current meta. Xayah isn't topping the charts, but she is still competitive for, top of the table when it does come to DPS, and offers so much safety.
Yeah, and she's also one of the premier AD carries when you're talking about playing weak side. Xayah does that very, very well. And she's also one of those champions that once she does hit 3 items, her team fight just changes so drastically. And for the side of Mad City, we are going to see them lock in the Ezreal Karma themselves here. So maybe trying to channel some of that magic from game number 2 from the side of Blacklist and utilize it in their own hands.
Now we just need to see the Xerath and the Vayne top coming through. And I mean, we'll get to obviously see the jungler returning. That was a hacker room and it was banned away this time. But what can you do if the bans return? You see Viego again taken off the table. I'm wondering if maybe first round bans return?
I realized that for game number 3, we actually have Tentakai coming back in, which means that they get their first phase bans back.
I see. Yeah. So for the audience to clue you in, the reason that Blacklist had lost their bans for the entire series because they were using a substitute in the top lane. They have now brought their starting top laner back in for game number 3, which means that ban penalty has been removed. Now, even the top lane being disregarded, they were still under a ban penalty because of mid laner Teemo, but that was just second round bans. So it was
actually Steve Fox.
Compounding. Oh, it was Steve Fox. Oh, yes, you're right. But it was a compounding effect, so we've removed half the penalties essentially.
Yeah.
Off of them, which I mean, hey, you got the Darius, the Jinx, and the Hecarim. That's an entire game changer.
A lot of freedom opened up here at the very least, and it means that in the second phase, yes, you weren't able to ban out some of those champions that you didn't want to see, but into a set, there's still so much flexibility actually coming in from this draft on the red side that it does make things a little bit more difficult for Blacklist to finish out their draft. And there looks like committing to Wukong Galio. You've got a decent amount of dive in the Diana Wukong that you could run a Galio, but they're actually going to pivot and throw the Akali into the mid lane. So there's a lot of options here. You could throw a set into the mid lane into the Akali, and that would pretty much neutralize her. And then you can just kind of pick your counter pick into that top side against the Wukong.
Yeah. And the Rivet being hovered, this could be exciting.
Could be the move.
Brahma and Darius, Nightstar, you went over all of his picks for this season, and the Darius was actually the first time that he had played a champion twice, at least so far here in this regular season. Has the Riven showed up in all of his weeks?
It actually did get played last week. So Riven was locked in. I believe it was also into a Wukong up in that top side, and I would just assume that BMD just loves this matchup here. And also just the fact that you are still able to save counter pick and have the flexibility to move set into the mid lane is just really it's a really nice champion pool also being offered up by Mark Boots to help compensate the fact that they want to draft around BMD.
Now, I'm thinking back to game number 1 where we did see Blacklist, and more specifically, we saw Shelvelve on this Diana have a really good game. And the the storyline we were pushing is team doing bad, jungler doing good. Now we see a much different take on the Diana comp. Tell me, Nightstar, how do you feel game 3 draft compared to game number 1? Have we upgraded?
Yeah, game number 1 was everyone's going to go for the dive. Game number 3, we've got, almost everyone. So it's going to be Diana, Wukong, and Kali.
Everyone with an asterisk.
Yeah, and you also have the Rakan able to kind of join into. Of course, he's going to be a primary engage. Fits very similarly to game number 1. This time around, though, they do have a lot more mid and late game scaling with the Xayah. So their damage isn't necessarily going to peter off, unlike in game number 1 when you did have the Kaisa, who really just didn't get a whole lot of traction. And especially in this bottom lane matchup, the Karma Ezreal, it's not going to be overly threatening. So Rakan Xayah should be able to farm out that lane, and the Xayah will be a threat when it comes to that mid and late game. So I'm really excited for this composition. I think still you're looking at this top half of the map for the side of Blacklist to really get going, get underway, and be able to dominate the game from there. And if the game continues to stay on even grounds, I still like the fact that this Riven should be able to take over the game. The set neutralizes the Akali so well, and there's, I don't think, enough threat onto an Ezreal to really put him out of the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of tools, I would say, in the belts of Mad City Premier. It almost feels like we've got just like the standard, your black leather belt that you go and get from Walmart. That's what Blacklist X are walking in with. Mad City Premier, they've got the bat belt, all right? They've got the batarangs and the smoke bombs, the 56 pouches, the cargo socks coming through. Like, they've got so many tools to just deal with anything that comes at them. And this is a composition where if you turned off nameplates and you told me that a team like NoOrg was running this comp, I'd be like 100%. And it like makes sense. And they've been able to popularize this style a lot over the last couple months, with their just domination through amateur and academy, I guess. But it does require a lot of fluidity and a lot of 2v2, 3v3 skirmishes, looking to take advantages with those tools that you have wherever you can. I think if this comp sits back on its haunches a little bit and is a bit, is too reactive, we can get into a situation where Blacklist get the team fights that they're looking for, and front to back, I do sort of give them the edge.
Yeah, I mean, Blacklist definitely still have plenty of damage, right? That's not an issue. And it really just comes down to, again, a very similar to game number 1 theme, where are you able to kill the backline instantly? If so, then you give yourself a chance. Because if the Ezreal dies very early on, then, I mean, Volibear set, they don't necessarily contribute a whole lot of damage, and you definitely have more than enough damage on your own team because of the change from the Kaisa to the Xayah. The Xayah just packs a lot more when it comes to those mid-late game team fights. So, it's I can't harp on it enough. It's just still very similar to game 1.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of similarities to game 1, actually, in the way that these teams want to play. But I think that the big difference that we have to harp on is the fact that Brownman Darius isn't on Darius. And, like, sure, he's a great player, and I'm sure he's great at a lot of different champions. And we've seen him even, play the Riven, pick up a win with it. But, on a champion other than the one that you're named for, you got to lower the expectation a little bit. When you play Darius, you're like, all right, you're going to win no matter what. When you play a Riven, if you're not named Brown Man Riven, then, I'm going to be a bit more...
Or Viper?
Going in. Or Viper. Viper gets an exception. That's like a synonym at this point. If you look up Riven in the dictionary, you just see Viper right next to it.
Fun fact here is when BMD last played Riven, which was last week, he did go 5-1-2, and it was into a Kennen matchup, not the Wukong matchup as I thought before, but it was into a Kennen, and he had a very good game. I would also add as a caveat that Mark Boots was playing LeBlanc, and he went 10-1. So maybe the Riven pick kind of, rode the waves of the LeBlanc train, but we'll find out right here and right now, or actually in 3 minutes from now, how that'll actually play out.
Well, Nightstar sounds like you did all the hard work for my transition. We're going to toss it over to a short break, guys. We'll see you when we come back with game number 3. Somebody's always got to go. We'll see you there. back, everybody, to game number 3. Just, oh, man. You'll never know, chat, how good that intro was. It was perfect. Spot on. Chef's kiss, 10 out of 10. 5 gold stars. And Andy, my wonderful, endearing, loving producer, who had never heard a fly, just accidentally cut it all off.
He just forgot to turn on the mics, you know? Yeah.
Oops.
It happens, you know? Sometimes you
Never
click and, well, sometimes you just forget to click the button, you know?
That one was going to go on the highlight reel. So thanks for ruining my career, Andy. But I
5
guess
stars
we have
there.
to focus on game 3 here, Nightstar. Or whatever. Not that it matters anymore that my career is just over. But I suppose if it's going to go out, it's going to go out with a banger of a game number 3. I mean, we've got a Riven and a Wukong in the top lane. I love this meta. I love Season 11.
And they're going straight to a fight.
Level 1. Fight night, baby. Tensakai, he's going down.
Just
He's able
kidding.
to flash away for now to stay safe, but the bottom lane, they're taking some scuffles too. Ignite comes out onto an mAAd. He is set, so he'll be fine in like 30 seconds, but we'll have to be careful for now.
I mean, you would also say it's fine for the Wukong as well, but he certainly doesn't feel fine.
He
As,
doesn't get a free Garen pass, okay?
well, I
Yes,
mean, he
actually,
gets
he's
regen on his, well,
Oh.
okay. No flashes available on either top laner, so that one, while really tense, did fizzle. But I mean, he gets extra regen on his passive, man.
Yeah, but not. I mean, we're comparing two very different regens, Nightstar. You could see in mAAd, like the health he has been able to return to, didn't even use all of his potions. He is still sitting on pots. He still has regen. You know, Set's regen is insane.
Yeah, but look at Tensakai on this Wukong. He's regen to full. Look.
He reset. He used the base. That's cheating. You heard it here first. Going back to base is cheating. You die in lane like the NA rammer you are.
Well, now if Tensakai does die again in this top side, like if he dies at this point, it's just done.
Oh,
the lane's just gone.
Power dive though at the same time that a jungle fight's going on. Shelfelf has been caught out. He was
Give it
just
to Riven.
trying
Oh, just kidding.
to Karma is kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. At the very least, you give double buffs in a Karma with red buff into an Akali. Definitely not a whole lot of joy there. So, still will find its uses. Just, you know, could have just put this Wukong 6 feet under if the kill was somehow found into the hands of Brown Man Darius. But he'll just walk away having the EXP gained, I suppose.
What's better than one winning lane, Nightstar? 2 winning lanes. Because now that Karma's going to be untouchable. Already known for her obnoxious laning phase. The blue buff, red buff Karma is just another story. Digital Stain falls to Ignite there. Nice knock up landing from Ashel. The arcane shift was just a tad late.
Yeah, but at the very least, they also burn the flash onto the Xayah, and Digital Stain able to maintain his own flash here means that, you know, within the next 5 minutes, there definitely could be a nice opportunity for a gank attempt in that bot side. And Volibear just making sure that they do back off. Unfortunately for Digital Stain, though, he loses his heal, and the wave ends up crashing to his tower, so he really is kind of put at a pretty big deficit at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, he'll get a chance here to farm back up, and mAAd's going to go for the reset. But Ezreal just fine staying in lane on his own, and he's got his tier, he's got his sheen. You don't really need much else to feel comfortable just sitting under tower as Ezreal's do. Now, though, let's see where a mAAd can get out on the map to. You pick this Ezreal lane so that Set can roam around with your Karma, with your jungler, and make plays. As I thought play might go on there on the top side. Getting a lot of turret damage, or minion damage, rather. Tentakai, he's low, but he's got his jungler. This could be a little bit of a bait.
He also has no items, though.
Wait. Okay, Shelf is just recalling in the middle of lane. So Brown Man Darius will get to walk up, see that he's there, and say, okay, go for your recall.
Yeah. Continue on. It's basically what he's saying there.
And mAAd, he throws down the true damage, does connect onto Ashel, but big damage coming back out. He flashes away, but the
teleport invested.
Follow. TP coming in to try to clean up. Mark Boots forces the flash out of Ashel. Mantra Q does not land, and it means Mark Boots will just have to back up. Here comes Teemo. He's onto the Karma. He does have the ultimate, but he uses the second charge to get away. No kills coming through in the back half of that.
Yeah, no kills coming through. And it's just a lot of action in this bottom lane, kind of to be expected given the fact that it is, of course, Zyrecon, and they've kind of found an advantage. And you know, I'm actually really surprised that they committed to throwing Set into the support role, because when I was talking about, you know, lane matchups, I was talking about, well, Ezreal Karma. You can farm out this lane very easily. You can throw a lot of poke, but that's not the same case. Now, well, they're gonna scare Tentakai off of this lane, but they won't be able to find a kill. And I mean, for the side of oh dear,
here Nightstar, we can see the difference. What level 6 matters, and I guess the level 6 didn't matter because they didn't even need to use the ultimate there. So my point is moot. But
still level lead.
Yeah, still a better gank overall from the side of Shelf. More effective, at least, when you look at the results, and it's going to get them a dragon. So off to the races now. Shelf had a stellar game 1 performance on the Diana. Not quite as flashy, or at least as fed as he was there in that game. Still doing very well for himself, up 10 CS, and the dragon now.
Yeah, and Sat trying to make a play and
doesn't get pulled out of the shroud. Can Shelfeld find more? He has the 6 and a mAAd does not. Plus Ashel is here keeping him safe. Double buffs means it's donated right over to Teemo where you want it.
Well, I feel like okay.
Flash forward from Brown Man Darius. He knows the ultimate is down, but those minions do a lot of damage and he got bamboozled.
Whoa, it's not Apex Legends. We're not talking about Mirage, but you know what we are talking about? Digital Stain having the burn flash.
I may not be talking about Mirage, but Brown Man Darius was sure seeing double there. Unloaded his whole combo onto the clone there at the end. I think Tentakai got a perfect flash into the brush during the stealth so that Brown Man Darius actually never saw him.
Yeah, I also think he did miss the ult, so a little bit unfortunate for him, unable to find that execute damage. I think if he hit that ult, would have been able to get the finish there, get the kill, and now Tentakai is just being as pesky as possible. And
little monkey.
Yeah, now I mean Castle, he's just like, well,
he says, all right, fine, take this.
Yeah, let's play, buddy.
Castle has level 6 now, so he has to be careful. He can turn off the tower.
There you go.
Does so. Point and click CC coming through, but Akali's on the way. Tentakai's still alive. Now they have to back off. Castle even taking 2 tower shots there, but they'll walk away safely. Akali does not decide to go in. Shelf around the bot side has been spotted out, and no plays to be made.
Yeah.
Unless Charm land onto 1, onto 2, and here comes Shelf and mAAd will be the sacrificial lamb. Oh, Digital Strain gets marked. No dash cooldown. for Shelf Elf, though.
And once again, we see Set fall for just the 4th time.
All right, Nightstar, you had your 5 seconds of analysis. It's fight time.
No,
All right,
we're not going to fight night.
You can have another 5.
We're not going to fight night yet. But yeah, I mean, for the side of Mad City, it does feel like they got sucked into the trap that is, well, we need magic damage somewhere. So instead of throwing the Set mid, which by the way would have been perfect, we're going to throw the Karma mid while she is still able to neutralize the Akali. The bot lane just feels like it just can't ever play the game now.
Yeah, 100% agree. And it's not even the Luden's Echo Karma coming through. Moonstone just completed there for Mark Boots.
Yeah,
still
hello?
Be at a lack of magic damage.
You still face the same problems that you tried to avoid. I don't know.
This does just feel like they've kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit here by putting their bottom lane at an unnecessary disadvantage and then not even taking that extra gold and really making use of it. I guess if we're going to be seeing this coming through, I want to see big team fights, big skirmishes, big plays happening right now because this Moonstone Renewer is cheap and it's been bought before really anybody else. Steve Fox has Gale Force already, but that's a different world. He's playing on a different difficulty right now.
Yeah, you just gotta try and play around topside as much as possible, but they are spawning onto ward and they already know this is happening. And Set, remember,
who's really the bait? Who's the baiter here in this situation? Brown Mandarius, tick, he's gonna go down as Tentakai dashes in for the kill. A double, he'll make it. And coming up huge in the top lane. Now with a bot, Steve Fox finds the root too. And even though he's exhausted, the Gale Force finds the kill. Top, bot, it doesn't matter. They're winning everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, while all this is happening, look at where this Karma is. She's just still sitting mid. This is the Moonstone Renewer. You need to be able to find skirmishes around this Karma, and right now they're doing everything but play with the Karma.
Yeah, Mark Boots, I mean, he's done his job nullifying the Teemo in lane, but laning phase is starting to end, and Akali now getting around the map. She's got a kill, gonna go back to base. See how much gold she's sitting on. 1,400. My mage itemization costs are not quite up to par. So I know she'll be nearing that mythics very soon. And then we'll see her really become a nightmare. So at this point, like, we start to ask, how was it really worth it? Can they get a play back for themselves, though? Tentakai in trouble. Insomniac going to take up 3 turret shots. Tentakai, he gets away for now, but he buys enough time
trade
to
one
take
for
back
one.
one to the tower.
Yeah, still able to trade 1 for 1 there. That's more than a win there. And I mean, to be fair, if you're the Set, you probably just tank the tower all the way.
Teemo has no fear. He's going to go in for a 1v2 against Brown Man.
Oh, good dodge.
But yeah, great juke there. Means he is going to go down. Paid the price for his hubris.
Yeah, and Brown Man Darius, you know? I mean, he has the one condition here. If he gets far enough ahead himself, they don't have any tools to deal with this Riven on the sideline. And it looks like they're trying to look for an engage. I don't think this is the right play.
Yeah, Castle, he runs in and gets obliterated. Makes it out with a sliver of HP thanks to the ultimate, but that was a failed gank for sure. Oh, Steve Fox cleans up with one more kill just to put the cherry on top of the Sunday. They take the tower. They're probably they're gonna crash top here. Might get close to taking that one. Nightstar, are there any opportunities even left? I mean, we're 6,000 gold down at 15 minutes.
I mean, if they started that fight bot side like a full second later, when Karma is able to join up, you know, things look a lot better. Here, they have the Karma for the fight. And this is one they can win.
They drag Tentakai in, and they do take him down, but 4 members committed here. It is going to mean that Teemo gets solo time on the mid tower. It's healthy, so shouldn't fall. And nothing else really to take on the map.
3 minutes until the next dragon as well, so plenty of time to try and get whatever gold you can. Prepare for that fight, and it will be an Ocean Soul when it all boils down to it, which is going to be great for both of these AD carries. But at the moment, like Xayah, she is a different AD carry than Ezreal right now. This Ezreal is still just feeding on scraps, and Xayah, well, she is having her full 12-course meal right now.
Yeah, I want to see who can kill someone faster at this point, the Fountain Tower or the Xayah. It's got to be close. Steve Fox godlike now. He gets pulled in, takes a lot of damage.
Kadai
Goes in the ult, but he's shut down. Gold's going to go over to Brown Mandirius there. Does get a double kill, and it's the fight going over to Blacklist X at the end of it all. But, I mean, still, that is so much gold going into the Riven's pocket. Ashel? Calm down there, buddy.
Akali actually doing a nice job in tanking one more tower shot. That means Ashel's able to walk out scot-free. And yeah, they were able to get the shutdown onto that Xayah. Honestly, worth all 3 kills, because that itself was pretty much 3 kills. Having that full gold bounty. So you're talking about a 1,000 gold shutdown in exchange for 3 kills, or 3 deaths. I don't know how much Digital Stain is worth at the moment, because of the fact he has died 3 times, hasn't been having a great game. But yeah, definitely worth it for that exchange, but this is worth it here.
Boots gone. Steve Fox low. He gets ulted back by Insomnia and taken down too. The true damage is going to land. And once again, it's more kills traded over, but it's the ADC taken out. Brown Mandarius now looking for a 1v1 with the jungle.
Trying to do it all himself.
Dash to the ground for safety. Brown Mandarius, I mean, he's succeeding. He's going to take him down despite the smite, despite the heal from the ground coming through.
Yeah, and that's another shutdown into his hands. And so he's able to cash in on a 1,000 gold shutdown, and now onto a 500 gold shutdown. Those 2 kills, 1,500 gold. And I mean, if you open up the gold, like, he is far and away the strongest member on his squad. He's got so much gold over the rest of his team. But even then, that does only bring him to even when it comes to that top side matchup. And when you're comparing him to Xayah?
Yeah, 1,500 gold behind the ADC. I mean, only a level over the marksman at this point. Xayah tied with the highest level on
marginally.
How often do you see that in League of Legends? And now it's going to be the Ocean Dragon started up, though. This would be sole point for the side of Blacklist.
They're looking for a steal.
The side is mAAd City. 2-man charm and knock up in the back line. And Namiya has to get out of the fight very early. But Steve Fox blows the ultimate, still completely safe. Akali into the back line. And there's no threats at all to Blacklist. They just run up and run right through the fight. Big damage going to come out at the end of it all as Brown Mandarius tries to trade something back, but he only gets 3 members down to half, and there's no chance there's any damage coming through to finish. The ace will be wrapped up there by Ashel, and it's all starting to go downhill, Nightstar, and fast.
I mean, just like in game number 1 and 2. Once it starts looking one-sided, both of these teams have displayed that they are more than confident in their shot calling to be able to accelerate the game. And that's actually really nice to see at this level of play, being able to be like, all right, we have a lead. Let's use that lead. Let's punish to its maximum potential. And that's what we're seeing here. Still, of course, could be a little bit cleaner, but I mean, in the end, it's still UCL, and it's just honestly really nice to see being able to look at, hey, We have an advantage. We should use it.
Yeah, and the biggest difference now looking back at the entire series that I'm seeing from game one to the rest of these games is really Steve Fox in this bottom lane. When he was in this Kai'Sa Rel situation and they just got absolutely blasted from that counter gank early on from the Hecarim. From that point, the Kai'Sa didn't really get to play the game. In game 2 and 3, Steve Fox has been an animal, an absolute beast. And it really starts to make you think how different maybe even that game 1 would have been if things were just even a little bit closer in the bottom.
Yeah.
Now Brown Mountain, though, he's got mAAd right behind him, but Tentakai is a bit too wise for that. He's going to get out of dodge scot-free. Herald is popped in the mid lane now. Should get this charge off. Will require a little extra love if it's to take down the turret, though. mAAd gonna walk forward to try to zone the Akali off, flashing forward, bringing her back into the team. But there's no threat, there's no follow-up. Teemo goes back in, and he finds a big chunk too. Herald's gonna go down, Shellfell flashes forward, but doesn't find anybody. All members alive. Brown Managerius goes for the re-engage, pops the ult. There's the volley bear over the top too. Digital Stain does find 1 kill.
Oh, look how
Fox. Look at Steve Fox. He's doing so much damage. Tentakai as well. He's just soloing the backline right now. Who needs an ADC when you've got the Monkey King? Teemo gonna help clean that one up. It's a double kill for the top. And it's an ace at the end of it all. Almost the clean one too. Ashel the only casualty.
And it starts with a play from this set, and it also ends with the set dying at the very end. Truly full circle with that play, but I mean, they're just grasping at straws at the very least. You know, you appreciate the fact that for the side of Mad City, they're still going for the play. They're still searching and saying, all right, well, we just have to fight at this point. We don't think we scale. So we're just going to try and find maybe a counterpunch here before they get their big item purchases. But now those item purchases have come through, and these subsequent fights will look harder and harder.
And I'm wondering what the comms are like during that last fight too, because mAAd, it looked like he had actually a really good look onto Teemo, but the rest of his team, upon seeing that Akali come in, they were like, oh, that's really cool. And
where's our damage?
well, they just didn't do anything. Everyone just kind of looked on and watched as the Akali backed up, went into her shroud, and the teleport was channeled through. It didn't feel like the team was quite on the same page, or maybe mAAd found a play, but just didn't communicate that to his team. I don't quite know where the disconnect was there, but I actually think that might have been a very small window to actually find something. That window's shut now, and they're getting obliterated. Just, I swear they were right there a second ago.
The Xayah flash forward too, and Volibear, he stands on a ward he tried to clear earlier. He knows the ward was there, but just sits in that bush, and things going all downhill.
That one's not gonna lose any members. They're gonna pick up 3 for themselves. Castle just barely able to escape with his life. Means that, you know, the Baron steal is still like at a 1% possibility. I'll give him more than that. We'll give him a small window, but it's so hard to even think about it when, look how fast Steve Fox kills this thing. Is he even gonna make it to the pit? He doesn't have ult, he doesn't have flash, there's no way inside, and the Baron's just gone.
And he doesn't have Ocean Soul
too. Just for being curious, just for having to walk up, Castle's gonna lose his life. Shellfell will secure the Ocean Soul. And wearing capes of purple and blue, we're gonna see Blacklist X here move out to look for the kill.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say, right? because all you have to do is look at the top of the screen.
16,000 gold.
Yep. 16,000 gold, 0 dragons, and down 5 turrets and down 24 kills. Even the morales has to be a little bit rough here. And now, I mean, yeah.
For anybody that isn't familiar with, I guess, what a fail state would look like in League of Legends, we usually cut teams off around the 10,000 gold deficit and saying, at this point, the game is no longer in your hands. It is required for the enemy team to throw for you to come back. We're way past that point, and here's the engage. There's the kills, and that's, ladies and gentlemen, is what a 16,000 gold lead looks like.
It's a whole lot of gold, very large wallets being just smacked onto your face. And yeah, the Xayah has not just a wallet, she's got the whole safe thrown at you. It's like one of those bank safes you have in a James Bond movie.
Paid by Steve. Blacklist X.
Steve Fox, baby.
Congratulations to Blacklist. They are going to bring this series back from a game 1 loss. I almost hate to put that on their record, though, Nightstar, because coming in with a substitute, now that we see Tentakai back in, like, all the problems seem to be solved. That was I think the one lane that was really struggling for them in game 1 mostly, but even in game 2, Brown Mandarius looked like he had the possibility to just take that over. Not with Tentakai in. Oh my goodness, dude. Blacklist looks scary with Tentakai in.
I mean, the early game was still a little bit rough, right? Tentakai took a level 1 trade, had to use his teleport early on, but it just felt like that there was a certain amount of confidence knowing, all right, Tentakai is behind, but he'll be able to pull it back. All we have to do is continue to invest resources down bot side. Whereas on the flip side, when, I mean, their sub fell behind, you know, they still tried to play bot side, but top side just continued to fall behind. And it felt like they were playing almost 4v5 through those games. But this game, it was definitely a 5-man effort. And boy, did it look good.
It looked absolutely incredible. Now, Blacklist, again, they will take a loss to their game score, but their series score remains intact. They are undefeated now, 4-0. That's going to lock them into the playoffs for next week being the last week of the regular season. They should be in a good spot for first place as well. I do believe if Mad City win their series 2-0 next week and Blacklist have a bad series, then there could be a consideration for a tiebreaker for first place. But right now, as it stands, Blacklist are feeling pretty confident in that first place spot. And I'd say that they deserve it, Nightstar. They are looking amazing. And I just can't wait to see how they stack up against some of the teams in the other groups come playoffs in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, I think both of these teams do have what it takes to make a deep run when it comes to playoffs. Clearly, Blacklist, we know if they have this 5-man lineup, they're going to be dominated. And on the flip side, Brown Mandarius, he's still incredibly strong. And I just feel like that their read on this last draft just fell just a little bit short. But I mean, the other 2 games, you felt the idea was there. So I'm still fairly confident in this squad for them to continue their momentum this season and being able to carry that into a good playoff showing. So confidence is still high for both of these teams, I think.
Yeah, maybe the no-org draft needs a couple more run-throughs in scrims. Specifically, you know, we called out the Karma in the mid lane, really couldn't get out of that laning phase, couldn't get into the team fights, couldn't set anything up with their team, despite going for the Moonstone and Staff of Flowing Water. Didn't feel like that ever really had an effect. So just a couple of foundational composition things that we would like to see cleaned up. But hey, that's what you've got the next 2 weeks to work on going into playoffs. This is still, like you said, a contender team for making a deep run. So I can't wait to hopefully see this comp be busted back out again in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll see some better results. But we're going to wrap it up here for tonight. So a big thank you to everybody that watched the stream tonight, anybody that stuck around from the R6 games as well. A special thank you to you guys, and make sure that you check us out here, same time, same place next week for week 5 of the regular season, the very last week before we head off to playoffs. And if you can't get enough of me and Nightstar, make sure to check out the RSAA C-Law tournament this weekend, where we will be on the C stream hosting some of the games with some incredible casters and analysts alongside us. So stay tuned, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.